Imagine if your students could get personalized 24/7 academic support, no office hours, and no late night emails. That's the promise of AI tutors. But does that make it the ultimate teaching assistant, a digital disruptor, or something in between? Maybe a frenemy. Welcome back to the What and Who of EDU, where we bring you insights from the leading educators, researchers, and innovators who are shaping the future of teaching and learning. On our podcast, we share real-world classroom strategies that help you create a more impactful and effective learning environment. I'm your host, Marissa Bluestone.
And I'm Derek Lampka, your show's producer.
And today, we're asking a question that's keeping instructors, administrators, and probably a few exhausted TAs up at night. What happens when your students start turning to AI for tutoring? Is it the ultimate sidekick or the start of a pedagogical identity crisis? Stick around for some surprising history, a whole lot of data, and 10 practical tips to help you harness AI without losing your mind or your syllabus. And hey, before we get started, hit like, subscribe, and if you find today's episode insightful, be sure to share it with some colleagues. You know, the ones who are kind of curious about AI, but still treating it like it might bite. Chapter 1, Friend or Foe? A 2025 survey from the Higher Education Policy Institute, or HEPI, found that almost all students, like 92%, are using AI in some form. That's up from a 2024 Statista study, which found that 86% of students worldwide used AI in their schoolwork. It's pretty safe to say AI has officially gone mainstream in higher ed. And you'll find links to these and all other sources we use in the show notes. But here's the question. Are students using AI as a tutor, or are they using it as a shortcut? Or maybe a little bit of both? Well, let's take a closer look at that HEPI data. Students say they use generative AI to explain concepts, summarize articles, and suggest research ideas. They said that using AI saves them time and improves the quality of their work. That kind of sounds like tutoring to me. But nearly 1 in 5 students admitted they have copy-pasted what the AI said directly into their work. Yikes. AI tutors can offer some real perks, like personalized guidance, 24/7 support, and something human tutors can only aspire to: infinite patience. For learners who need repetition, encouragement, or maybe just a little bit more time, that type of tailored scaffolding can make a big difference. But they also raise concerns: over-reliance, equity, environmental impact, and whether students are actually learning. So today, we're breaking it down into two sides: the friend argument, why AI tutors help students learn better, and the foe argument, why they might not be the solution students hope it will be. And after that, we'll get into the practical stuff: how to make sure AI tutors are helping and not hurting in your classroom. But first, how did we even get here? Because while the data on AI tutors is relatively newish, the idea of technology guiding students, it's a little older than you might think. So grab your bell bottoms, throw up a peace sign, and join me in the 1960s when our journey begins.
Hold on. ChatGPT was released in late 2022. Are we supposed to believe that this kind of tech was available in the 1960s?
Yep. And the timeline, it's way more surprising than you'd think. Let's go back in time and find out. Chapter 2, A Brief History of AI in Education. In the 1950s, famous behaviorist B.F. Skinner developed teaching machines that offered immediate feedback for simple programmed instruction. Well, not AI by today's definition. They laid the groundwork for using technology to deliver individualized feedback. Then in the 1960s, there was Plato, short for Programmed Logic for Automatic Teaching Operations. Peak acronym, right? Developed at the University of Illinois, it had glowing orange screens, interactive lessons, and even an early version of chat rooms where students and instructors could leave public or private messages. Here's how it worked. Suppose a student was solving for x in 2x plus 3 equals 7. If they got the answer right, x equals 2, the system would display positive feedback such as correct or great job. If wrong, it might provide a hint, like remember to subtract 3 from both sides first. It wasn't just a glorified calculator, it was a true precursor to modern adaptive learning. By the 1970s and 80s, intelligent tutoring systems like Scholar and early Carnegie Mellon tutors were being tested. These rule-based programs didn't just track what students got wrong, but they also delved into what they might misunderstand in the concept. And it worked. A 2014 meta-analysis suggested that using intelligent tutoring systems like these could be just as effective as traditional human one-on-one tutoring. But this isn't the AI we know and sometimes love today. If a student were to outpace the program or offered a novel solution the program didn't understand, then it wouldn't be much of a help at all. And then came the internet, and suddenly, education technology wasn't just about machines in a lab. It was also about scale. Adaptive learning platforms like Alex, MindTap, and Achieve then pushed personalized learning to scale. The digital learning systems adjust content based on how students interact, making them some of the earliest examples of intelligent tutoring systems. But fast forward to today, and AI has graduated to a whole new level. Generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude are large language models, or LLMs. They can simulate conversations, creating a study buddy that's there for students anytime, even when their human teachers are busy doing other teacher things. So, adaptive learning uses pre written code and predicts the outcome. Then it moves forward based on that prediction. But AI writes codes based on the input of the user. In other words, AI learns, and that's the game changer. Chapter 3: AI as a Friend. So, is AI in education truly a friend? The data makes a pretty compelling case. But before we go there, some insight on why it could be a friend. In a nutshell, it can personalize learning, offer infinite patience, create judgment-free zones, build confidence, help students persist, and meet them at their own pace. But the real question is, does it actually help them learn? Let's start with one of the things AI tutors do best: personalization. Unlike a traditional classroom where one teacher juggles dozens of students' needs, AI tutors can focus entirely on the individual students. Think about it this way. If the tutor learns about each student over time, it builds a history with them, just like a teacher with a student in the classroom every day. Except they're just zeros and ones. AI doesn't roll its eyes when students ask the same question for the third or fourth time, or give an awkward pause before saying, let's try that again. It's patient, infinitely patient. AI tutors also eliminate the stigma of asking for help. Many students feel awkward admitting they're struggling. AI creates a space where no one's watching and no one's judging. Another one, students get to learn at their own pace. There's no AI hovering and watching them as they work through problems. And speaking of learning, one of the biggest challenges isn't just understanding the material, but sticking with it when things get tough. That's where AI can help build persistence, keeping students engaged, even when learning can get a little frustrating. Apps like Duolingo show how AI can build confidence. 90% of users there say they feel more confident using their new language in the real world. And that confidence piece isn't just a fluke, it shows up in broader research too. JISC's 2024 Student Digital Experience Survey found that students value digital tools that let them revisit material, set their own pace, and reduce the pressure of falling behind. When students feel in charge of their own learning process, they're more likely to stick with it, even when it gets tough.
That all sounds nice, but is it really essential? Like, does this actually help students get better grades?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Let's look at the numbers. At Macmillan Learning, results from 2 semesters of testing show that 41.5% of students reported increased confidence in their problem solving skills. 73% said the tutor was valuable or very valuable in helping them succeed in their course. Their latest study, taking place in fall 2024 and spring 2025 semesters, spanning 72 courses and more than 1,200 students, found that students who messaged interactively with the AI tutor, not just using pre written prompts, well, they saw real academic gains. We're talking between a 2 to 5% increase in assignment grades, a 6 to 10% boost in exam scores, and a 2 to 3% improvement in final course grades. The study found the key to their success was interactivity. So the more they engaged in conversation with the tutor, asking follow-up questions, explaining their thinking, the more they learned, and ultimately the better they did. The AI tutor engages students in a Socratic-style dialogue, nudging them to think critically and figure things out independently. And when they do that, they can learn from their mistakes more quickly. But wait, there's more. They're not the only ones seeing gains. At Unidistance Suisse, a semester-long study tested an AI tutor powered by GPT-3 in a neuroscience course. It generated personalized microlearning questions and tracked students' understanding in real time. They found that students using the AI tutor scored, on average, 15 percentile points higher than their peers in a similar course. That's more than a full letter grade in many cases.
Okay, but what about traditional subjects like math?
Glad you asked. In subjects like Algebra 1, AI has been showing real promise for years. Take Carnegie Learning's Cognitive Tutor, an adaptive math platform built on decades of research. A U.S. Department of Education review found that students in the Cognitive Tutor classrooms outperformed those in traditional classrooms by up to 19 percentile points on end-of-year tests. It's like having a math coach who knows exactly when to push you and when to step back. And it's not just the students who benefit. They help teachers reclaim time, cutting down on emails and deadline extension requests. By taking on repetitive tasks like answering frequently asked questions, AI frees up educators to focus more on meaningful interactions with their students. Nearly half of instructors in Macmillan Learning's tutor pilot program reported fewer homework-related emails and fewer requests for deadline extensions from their students.
All right, so AI tutors can boost confidence, improve grades, and even help students persist. But we know it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
While AI tutors can do a lot, they also raise some real concerns. Let's take a hard look at the other side of this story. Chapter 4, AI as Foe. For all the ways AI tutoring can support learning, it also raises some concerns. So let's unpack 5 of the biggest ones. First, academic honesty. AI makes it easier than ever for students to take shortcuts, and sometimes they do that without even realizing it. Because students can, and sometimes do, use AI to do the work for them.
This is a big deal. How do we know that students aren't just using the AI to do the work for them? What's stopping them from copy pasting their way through their homework?
The data from Macmillan Learning study on its AI tutor suggests that this concern is real. The ones who only used pre-entered prompts and without actively messaging it, they saw no improvement in exam scores. In fact, there's evidence that passive use may even undermine their learning. And here's a hard truth. Students have always found workarounds and ways to game the system. Before AI, it was Google. Before that, borrowed papers. And before that, well, let's just say plagiarism has a long history. Longitudinal research by the International Center for Academic Integrity shows over 80% of university students admit to some form of cheating. In a 2020 ICAI study, 32% admitted cheating on an exam, 25% used unauthorized resources, 28% collaborated when it wasn't really allowed, and 15% plagiarized without citing. It's even worse in high school, where a whopping 95% of students reported engaging in some form of cheating.
So, isn't AI just supercharging an old problem, giving students an easier way to cut corners?
Maybe, but maybe not. Because while some students are absolutely using AI to take shortcuts, thoughtful design and strong guidelines can stop AI from becoming an academic cheat code. A second concern is that AI might be limiting student creativity or free thinking, both of which are tied to learning and stronger academic outcomes. No one wants students to become overly dependent on AI or rely on technology like tutors to do the thinking. It could lead to a form of learned helplessness, which wouldn't be good. Think of it like using a GPS. It's great until you need to get there without it. Studies show that when students rely too much on AI, they struggle to apply knowledge without it, kind of like your brain skipping leg day. AI tutors should be a complement and not a crutch, and there are many ways to encourage that. AI can be a peer. It can simulate hands-on projects, or it can help you give a quick pop quiz to measure learning as it's happening. But even interactive use has its limits. Students who use Macmillan Learning's AI tutor on more than 75% of questions actually saw diminished returns.
Wait, some students use the tutor more than 75% of the time? Did this happen with many of the students?
About 8%, so not too many. But it's a good reminder that there are risks for students who use it as a crutch instead of a scaffold. There's a good case for having guardrails to avoid extreme use of the AI tutor. And that's not it. There's concern about AI's impact on the environment. Running powerful AI models can carry significant environmental footprints. While earlier estimates claimed ChatGPT used around 10 times more energy per query than a Google search, more recent data suggests a typical GPT 4.0 query uses roughly zero point 0.3 watt hours, so similar to older search benchmarks. But here's the catch. At scale, those millions of queries add up pretty fast. Equity concerns loom large too. AI tutors hold enormous promise, but only if students can actually use them. For example, a 2024-25 fluency report, Bridging the AI Digital Divide from Syracuse University, identifies disparities shaped by computing access, digital training, and infrastructure investment, warning that AI tools remain out of reach unless those gaps are addressed. But there is some good news on that front. Macmillan Learning's AI tutor comes free for students that are using the Achieve platform. And then there's a data privacy issue. AI tutors don't just grade answers. They track what students ask, how often they struggle, and even when they're most likely to study. Hello, 2 a.m. crammers. That raises the question, who's keeping an eye on all that data?
Wait, so is AI tracking just study habits, or are we talking full on Black Mirror?
Responsible platforms anonymize student data and focus strictly on improving the learning experience. This isn't Black Mirror's The Entire History of You. Educators and institutions need to remain vigilant, ensuring that AI systems comply with standards like FERPA And question how student data is handled in the long run, because with great data comes great responsibility. And finally, a question we get pretty often: will AI tutors eliminate the need for human connection?
Oh
Worry not. Sure, AI tutors can offer 24/7 answers and personalized pacing. But what they can't do, what absolutely no algorithm can replicate, is the human connection. And that is what powers real learning. Teachers don't just deliver information, they notice things like when a student's confidence dips, when two concepts are linked by a clever analogy, when a quiet student finally has a breakthrough. AI can't read the room. It doesn't recognize when a student's eyes light up or when they're silently shutting down. It can't adapt to a student who just lost their job, who missed the bus, or just needs some grace. Humans are wired to seek meaning, not just answers. Great educators help students make connections across subjects, between a math problem and a real world application, or between historical events and modern movements. AI? It's not really always that great at seeing the forest through the trees.
So you're saying AI might know the what, but teachers help figure out the why.
Exactly. AI might help students find the answers, but it's the teachers that help them put the pieces together, that help them to find meaning and make their leap towards their next big breakthrough. So, how can we make sure AI is helping and not hurting? Let's get into some practical takeaways. Chapter 5: Practical Takeaways for Educators. AI tutors can be game changers, but only if they're used in the right way. And this is true for pretty much every tech tool out there today. But the real magic? That's still very much you. Here are 10 tips you can use today to make sure that you and your students are getting the most out of AI and AI tutors. Tip number 1: let AI handle the busy work so you can focus on the real teaching. AI tutors can take care of repetitive questions, provide support, and guide students through problem solving, letting students do all the trying and failing and trying again on their own. That frees you up for what matters most: the deeper discussions, the critical thinking, and the kind of teaching no AI can replicate. Try using an AI tutor for homework support and let students ask the AI tutor first. Tip 2: let AI do the detective work for you. Data insights and AI analytics can help you to spot patterns, look for common struggles like concepts most students get wrong, and reteach those in class. This is something we're seeing more and more of. Tip 3: AI can start a conversation, but you make it meaningful. After students complete an AI driven activity, turn that knowledge into something real through peer discussions, group projects, or hands on applications. AI can provide answers, but you provide the kind of context that helps them to make sense of it all: the nuance, insight, and the human touch that turns raw information into real understanding. And that's what makes learning stick. Tip 4: process beats perfection. The best AI tutors don't just spit out answers, they make students think. Encourage students to focus on the how and the why behind their responses. Tools that use Socratic questioning, like Macmillan Learning's AI tutor, can help build a deeper understanding. Tip 5: make AI part of metacognition exercises. After we spoke about metacognition this past March, this one shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Link below if you missed that episode. But after using AI, have your students reflect and ask themselves, what did I learn? What did AI help me with? And what did I figure out on my own? This builds their self awareness around their own learning habits and thinking processes. Tip 6: set boundaries on when and how students use AI. Be clear about when AI is a helpful tool and when it's not appropriate, like ungraded assignments or critical thinking tasks. The key is to structure assignments so AI is used to support learning and not bypass it. And if you're looking for more information on AI guardrails to implement in your classroom, you can also check out a previous episode where we heard 10 tips from educators across the country. Tip 7, teach students to question AI, not just to use it. AI-generated responses are not always right. Assign activities where students analyze AI outputs. Does this explanation make sense? Is it accurate? Is there bias? An imperfect AI can help strengthen students' critical thinking skills. Or you can ask students to compare an AI-generated response to their course materials or class notes. And if there's a discrepancy, have them investigate why. Tip 8, help students find the sweet spot. Research shows that students benefit most when they message with the AI tutor on 25 to 75% of assignments. Not all and not none. Encourage intentional use, enough to build confidence, but not so much that it replaces thinking. Tip 9, give students AI literacy, not just AI access. Before jumping into assignments with AI, teach students how it works, where it pulls answers from, what it doesn't know. The more they understand the tool, the more likely they are to use it wisely and skeptically. Tip 10, use AI to differentiate, not to dictate. AI tutors can adjust based on input, but they still need human oversight. Encourage students to customize prompts to their learning style, or even use AI to explain something in multiple ways. One student might need a metaphor. Another might want a step-by-step. AI can support both if they know how to ask. And here's a bingo bonus. Don't just teach with AI. Teach about AI, what it does and what it doesn't do, how it gets the answers that it spits out. AI is just a tool. It's how we use it that matters. Students will get more out of AI as they become better at querying the bots. But to query it better, they also have to understand its limitations. So as we integrate AI into learning, the question isn't just, what can AI do? But how do we ensure that it actually helps students to thrive? So, friend or foe, maybe AI tutors are like that student that always raises their hand first, eager, full of ideas, and sometimes a little overconfident. The potential is there, but it's up to us to guide them in the right direction. And whether AI becomes an educator's best friend or biggest headache, well, that depends on how we use it. And with that, we wrap up today's episode of digging into the data on the what and who of EDU. But what do you think? Friend, foe, or something else altogether? Drop us a voicemail at 512-765-4688 and you could be featured in a future episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share. Your support means everything. I'm Marissa Bluestone, and I'll catch you the next time on the What and Who of EDU.